Don't take another step toward her until you hear what I'm about to tell you. Because the moment a man ignores the first red flag phrase, his life stops being his own. And I've watched too many men lose everything because they thought they were overreacting. You're not overreacting. You're finally waking up. Listen closely, because this isn't coming from anger or fear or revenge. This is coming from a woman who has sat across from other women while they admitted the things they'd never say out loud to a man. The private conversations, the group chat confessions, the warnings they whisper only to each other. And it always starts with one phrase, one small sentence that slips out of her mouth. And by the time you notice the pattern, it's too late. You've already given your time, your energy, your hope, and she's already planning her exit. Every man believes he'll see the danger early, but the truth, you rarely do, because men fall for effort, loyalty, and intention, while women know how to wrap a red flag in softness and make it look like vulnerability. They don't always do it maliciously. Sometimes they really don't know the damage they cause, but the result is the same. A man loses himself trying to keep a woman who already told him, indirectly, exactly who she is. And that's why I'm here with you right now. Because if you've ever sat in your car after an argument feeling confused, doubting your own memory, wondering if you're expecting too much, if you've ever stayed awake staring at the ceiling replaying something she said because it just didn't sit right in your chest, then one of these phrases has already been spoken to you. And tonight, you're going to understand it for what it truly is. Let me start by pulling you into a moment you might know too well. You're standing there, calm, steady, trying to communicate like a man who respects himself. You're explaining how something made you feel, not attacking her, just being honest. And she cuts you off with a small laugh, a roll of the eyes, or that cold tone that hits you harder than yelling ever could. And then she says it. I never said that. You freeze, because you know she did. You remember the moment, the words, the context. You remember exactly how it made you feel. And yet suddenly you feel foolish, unsure, off balance. You question your own mind. This is not a misunderstanding. This is not miscommunication. This is the moment she tests how far she can bend your reality before you break. When a woman says, I never said that, and you know she did, she's not protecting the relationship. She's protecting her control. And if you allow her to rewrite the past, she'll soon rewrite the present, and eventually rewrite who you are. Because a man who doubts his own memory becomes a man who apologizes when he shouldn't, stays when he shouldn't, forgives what should never be forgiven. That phrase is the seed of emotional manipulation, and once it's planted, she learns she can get away with anything as long as she denies it with enough confidence. And here's the painful truth a lot of men don't want to admit. When a woman sees that you value peace more than truth, she stops respecting you. You cannot love someone into honesty. You cannot sacrifice your voice hoping she'll suddenly hear you. If she's willing to distort reality to win a moment, she will distort your entire life to keep control. Now I want to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly in the comments. Has a woman ever denied something you know she said, just to make you doubt yourself? If this hit you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs this message right now. There's a moment every man remembers, a moment when he realizes the woman in front of him isn't listening to understand. She's listening to defend, and the words she speaks next don't come from love or partnership or accountability. They come from a place inside her that's terrified of being exposed. That's where the second red flag phrase is born. And once she says it, everything in the relationship shifts, even if you don't feel the earthquake right away. Picture this. You're trying to communicate like an adult. Calm, present, respectful. You're explaining how something crossed a line or hurt you. Not accusing, not attacking, just being real. And instead of leaning in, instead of meeting you in that vulnerable middle ground where real connection happens, she locks up. Her eyes turn guarded, her posture stiffens, and then she hits you with the phrase that drains the life out of every good man who hears it. You're too sensitive. The moment those words leave her mouth, the conversation stops being about understanding. and becomes a quiet war on your emotional credibility. She's not telling you she disagrees. She's telling you your feelings are invalid. She's telling you that your boundaries don't matter. She's telling you that your emotional reactions are inconvenient to her, so she'll pretend they're exaggerated. And what most men don't realize is this: when a woman says, "You're too sensitive," she's not describing you, she's revealing herself. Because emotionally healthy women respond with curiosity. They say things like, "I didn't know that affected you. Help me understand." They don't shame you for being human. They don't punish you for having a heart. They don't weaponize your vulnerability against you. But the type of woman who uses this phrase, she cannot handle accountability, so she disguises it as your weakness. She cannot tolerate discomfort, so she reframes it as your overreaction. And at first, she only says it once, maybe twice. But over time, something starts to change inside you. You start silencing yourself. You start walking on eggshells. You start questioning whether your emotional needs are too much. And the most dangerous part, you begin shrinking to fit the version of yourself she prefers: quiet, agreeable, emotionally numb. A man who no longer expresses hurt becomes a man who no longer expresses truth. And a man who no longer expresses truth becomes a man who betrays himself just to keep a woman who doesn't value him. Here's what she doesn't want you to know. Calling you too sensitive is how she avoids admitting she crossed a boundary. It's how she keeps the spotlight off her actions. It's how she trains you to absorb pain without calling it out. It's how she molds you into someone easier to manage, but harder to love. Because a man who feels nothing cannot give love either, and she'll eventually blame you for the coldness she created. But listen. As a woman, let me tell you the part men rarely hear. Women respect men who stand firm in their emotional truth. Not emotional chaos, not emotional outbursts, emotional truth. A man who calmly says, "No, I'm not too sensitive, you're being dismissive," is a man who cannot be manipulated. He becomes a mirror she cannot escape. And if she cannot handle that reflection, she was never meant for you in the first place. So let me ask you something, because this matters more than you think. Has a woman ever made you feel weak for expressing something that genuinely hurt you? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this spoke to something deep inside you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs this clarity right now. There's a specific kind of silence a man feels right before a relationship starts slipping out of his hands. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's subtle. It happens when he realizes he's doing the emotional heavy lifting while she keeps stepping back, refusing to meet him halfway. And the phrase that signals this shift, this slow erosion of effort, is one most men ignore, even though it's one of the biggest red flags a woman can reveal. Let me take you into that moment. You've been trying, consistent, loyal, communicative. You're making plans, showing intention, creating a foundation you can both stand on. And all you want, all you expect, is reciprocity. But then something happens. Her energy changes, the warmth fades, and when you bring it up, casually, respectfully, she doesn't reassure you. She doesn't reflect. She doesn't even try to understand. She simply shrugs and says, "I don't know what you want from me." And in that moment, something inside you sinks, because you weren't asking for anything extreme. You weren't demanding perfection. You weren't trying to control her. You were asking for the bare minimum: effort, communication, consistency. But instead of acknowledging the gap, she pretends the expectations are unreasonable. She makes your needs sound like pressure. She frames your desire for connection as confusion. And here's the truth most men never hear from a woman. When she says, "I don't know what you want from me," she knows exactly what you want. She just doesn't want to give it. That phrase is not about confusion, it's about avoidance. It's her way of distancing herself from responsibility without openly admitting she's pulling away. She's not confused, she's comfortable with you caring more. Because if she can convince you that your needs are vague or unfair, she never has to meet them. This is one of the most overlooked red flags because it sounds harmless. It sounds innocent, but listen to me carefully. Emotionally mature women don't pretend they can't understand simple relational needs. They don't play dumb with something as basic as communication. When a woman cares, she leans in. She asks questions, she clarifies, she tries. Even imperfectly, she tries. But a woman who uses this phrase is trying to create a loophole for herself, a way out without looking like the bad one, a way to step back while making it seem like you're the one expecting too much. And slowly, without realizing it, you start doing her share of the emotional work. You start explaining yourself more, justifying normal standards, reassuring her even when you're the one feeling neglected. You become the one holding the relationship together while she simply shows up when it benefits her. This phrase is a shield, a way for her to avoid admitting she's checked out, a subtle signal that her interest is fading, her priorities have shifted, or worst case, she's keeping you around for comfort while her heart is already elsewhere. But here's the truth you need to hear from a woman who actually respects men. A man is never too much for the right woman. A man's needs are not a burden. A man's desire for connection is not confusion. And a woman who wants you will never act lost when you tell her how to keep you. So let me ask you directly, and be honest with yourself. Have you ever been made to feel like your needs were unclear, even though you expressed them perfectly? If this section hit home, like the video, subscribe, and share it with another man who needs to hear these truths before he gives any more of his heart to the wrong person. There's a moment in every man's life when he feels the shift, when the woman he's giving his best to suddenly starts acting like his presence is optional. It's subtle at first. Delayed replies, a colder tone, less enthusiasm. But the real warning sign isn't her behavior. It's the phrase she uses to excuse it. A phrase that sounds calm, even reasonable, but underneath it holds one of the most dangerous truths a man can ignore. Imagine this. You reach out, you try to connect, you show consistency, intention, effort, and instead of appreciating it, instead of matching it, instead of meeting you with the same emotional presence, she pulls back. And when you ask what's going on, carefully, respectfully, without accusation, she sighs, avoids eye contact, and gives you the line that every man must treat as a turning point. I just need space. Now, listen carefully. There are healthy, legitimate moments when someone truly needs time to think, decompress, or process their emotions. But you can feel the difference between that and what I'm about to tell you. When a woman says, I just need space, after months of inconsistency, emotional distance, or growing detachment, she's not asking for time. She's asking for distance from you. This phrase, when used in this way, isn't about clarity. It's about cushioning her exit. Women rarely say, I need space when they feel deeply connected, hopeful, or invested. They say it when something inside them has already shifted, when their energy has already moved away, when their heart is drifting, even if they haven't admitted it yet. And here's the truth only another woman will tell you. When she says she needs space, she's usually testing how much you'll tolerate, testing if you'll sit on the sidelines while she figures out whether she still wants you, or whether someone else is capturing her attention. Because space, in the wrong context, is a way of keeping you available without having to offer commitment. It's a safety net, a backup plan, a pause button she controls. But let me expose something deeper, something most women will never say out loud. When a woman asks for space without giving clarity, without giving a timeline, without giving reassurance, what she's actually saying is, I want emotional freedom without letting go of the benefits you give me. And the men who accept this, who wait, who hope, who check in, who try harder, those are the men who hurt the most. Because while you're busy being patient, understanding, and loyal, she's using that space to decide whether you're worth coming back to, or worse, to explore the validation she wasn't getting from you. But here's the part you must understand. A woman who still wants you doesn't ask for distance. She asks for closeness. A woman who values you doesn't push you away. She pulls you in. A woman who sees a future doesn't disappear. She communicates. The right woman will say things like, I'm overwhelmed. Can we talk this through? I need a little time tonight, but I'm here. I just need a moment, but I'm not going anywhere. That is clarity. That is connection. That is emotional maturity. But the kind of space that comes with vague answers, fades in communication, and sudden emotional withdrawal? That's not space. That's preparation. Preparation to detach, preparation to exit, preparation to shift her life without having to explain it fully to you. So let me ask you directly, man to man, but spoken through a woman who's seen this pattern too many times to stay quiet. Has a woman ever asked for space, but deep down, you knew she was already half out the door? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this section made something inside you click, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs this truth before it's too late. There's a phrase, a final phrase, that hits a man in a place deeper than heartbreak. Because it doesn't just signal the end of a relationship, it signals the end of honesty, the end of transparency, the end of the version of her you thought was real. And when a woman uses this phrase, she's already made a silent decision about you, about the relationship, and about the future she no longer sees with you. Let me take you into that moment with absolute clarity. You're trying to fix things. You're giving patience, understanding, problem solving, everything a man gives when he actually cares. You're willing to talk it out, own your mistakes, find middle ground. You're not trying to win. You're trying to reconnect. And the only thing you need from her is openness, honesty, a willingness to meet you in the truth so you can rebuild from there. But instead of giving you that, she looks at you with a cold calmness, the kind that tells you she already checked out emotionally. And then she hits you with the final red flag phrase, the one that ends more relationships than cheating, fighting, or incompatibility ever could. I'm fine. No emotion, no depth, no explanation, just those two words. And as a woman, let me tell you something men rarely hear. When a woman says, I'm fine, and she clearly isn't, she's no longer sharing her emotional world with you. She's retreating. She's locking the door, turning out the lights, and shutting you out of the part of her heart you used to have access to. I'm fine is not calm. It's not stable. It's not resolution. It's resignation. It's distance. It's a wall. A woman who still wants to fix the relationship will talk. She'll express. She'll try, even if she's hurt. Women who are invested don't stay silent. They over-communicate. They explain. They process. They want to be understood. Even their anger is a sign of emotional presence. But I'm fine? That's emotional absenteeism. It's her way of saying, I don't feel safe telling you how I really feel anymore. Or worse, I've already emotionally detached, and I'm letting the relationship die quietly. This phrase is dangerous because men often misinterpret it. You think giving her space will help. You think she needs time. You think she'll talk when she's ready. But the truth, when a woman repeatedly says, I'm fine, she's not waiting to talk. She's waiting to leave. She's emotionally packing her bags while physically staying in the room. She's creating distance while pretending everything is okay. And here's the darker side women rarely admit. Sometimes I'm fine is used as a weapon. A passive way to punish you, to make you chase, to make you guess, to make you work harder for access to emotions she used to give freely. It becomes a cycle where you're constantly trying to decode her mood, fix what you can't see, apologize for things she won't name. And slowly, painfully, you start losing confidence. You start feeling like you're always one wrong sentence away from silence. You start feeling alone next to someone who claims to be fine, but listen to me carefully because this matters. A healthy woman communicates. A committed woman explains. A mature woman doesn't hide behind indifference. I'm fine is not the voice of a woman building with you. It's the voice of a woman drifting away. So let me ask you something honest, something that might hit you harder than the phrase itself. Have you ever been with a woman who said, I'm fine, but everything in your gut told you she was already emotionally gone? Answer in the comments. And if this entire video opened your eyes, like it, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs these truths before he gives more of his heart to someone who never deserved it.